Good morning. Today we are going to study the poem Brahma, written by the American writer Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is a poem in which we see Emerson as a transcendentalist. Now, a simple question might come into our minds as to what is transcendentalism. Transcendentalism is a school of thought which does not believe in the Trinity of God. It believes in the unity. It believes that there is a God, there is man, and there is nature. These three exist on a plane where there is a unity. God is not separated from his man. Man is not separate from the nature. And all these three have a bearing onto each other and an impact onto each other. This cult of thought, transcendentalism, is very implicit in the poem Brahma, which is the concept of which is taken from the Vishnu Puran and which speaks about Brahma, the maker. The Brahma, who is the creator of the universe. But we will also try to see, is this the same Brahma? That is man. The idea of Aham Brahmasmi has to be understood in this small lyric, Brahma. So we begin with the poem, and there is a paradox. The poem has been laid down on a paradoxical thought, saying that God is the creator, he is the sufferer. It begins with the word, with the expression, if the red slayer think, he slays, or if the slain think, he is slain, they know not well the subtle ways. I keep and pass and turn again. Emerson, it is as if Brahma is speaking to his people, to his subjects, man. And he says that if the killer feels slayer is killer, if the killer feels that he has killed someone, or if the killed feels that he has been killed, then they really do not know the subtle ways of Brahma. He says, they do not know me because it is I who keep the killing, who pass means who suffer the killing and turn again. So it is about the cyclic process of birth, death, rebirth, life, death, again rebirth. So Brahma is the one who kills, who suffers the killing, and he keeps these subtle ways. He is the doer. He is the sufferer. We continue. Far or forgot to me is near. Shadow and sunlight are the same. The vanished gods to me appear, and to me, and one to me are shame and fame. So it is a very petty thinking. If we isolate the past from the present, so far or forgot is the past, is the present. Life is a continuity. Life is not a broken or an interrupted sequence of actions. Whatever is far or forgot is near to God. The soul that is in us, the Brahma, of course, because he is the creator, for him nothing would be past as we must have seen in the serials, which are the religious serials in which they say, "Main samay hoon." So this main, this I, this Brahma, for him nothing is far or forgot. Everything is near to him. And to him, the shadow and sunlight are also the same. Shadows, we can have several meanings to it, sufferings, depressions, or anything. And sunlight, which is happiness, they are same to him. He is unaffected. He doesn't find any difference in the past or the present or the happiness or the sadness, and the vanished gods to him appear. This vanished gods should not be mistaken for big God. It is not about the one. It is about those who have been powerful, those who have wielded power at a point of time and are no more on earth. They appear to him. They are visible to him. And to him, it doesn't matter whether it is shame or it is fame. So this stanza is placing of opposites together, far or forgot, and mostly in an alliterative manner. Shadow and sunlight, the vanishing appearing, and shame and fame being one. This is Brahma. For him, nothing is different from the other. This is unity. This is the romantic, the American romanticism, the new romantic thought of everything being one, of everything being same, the unitarian outlook about life, about God, about man, and about nature. This unity of existence has been placed here. Brahma says, "They reckon ill who leave me out." Those who keep the creator out of their doings and think themselves creators, they invite ill. When me they fly, and I give them the wings. So they are able to come back to me. They reconcile into me. Their goodness or their evil or anything, it comes back to me. I give them the strength to come back. I give them the flight. I am the doubter and the doubt. I am the hymn the Brahman sings. So the songs of admiration, the songs of surrender, suppliance to God, I give voice to all those thoughts. We see Emerson as an ardent believer in the unity of things, in the unity of God with his man and with his nature. The three interdependent, the three reflections of each other. So I am the hymn. If anyone sings a song of adoration for God, these words are mouthed into the Creator's, the Creator mouths them out only because God assists this utterance. Now we come to take a conclusion of what he has said. Until now, Emerson is saying that I am the killer, I am the killed, I am the sufferer, I take things, I excite things, to me nothing is far or forgot, to me nothing is shadow or sunlight. They make no difference to me. Nothing is vanished, and everything is before me, and I find no difference between shame and fame. And then he says that I cannot be left out. I am inseparable of my creation. I may be the creator, but I am the creation as well. And then he concludes, Emerson says, the strong gods pine for my abode. All those who are powerful, all those who have any kind of strength are in a way only searching for God. God is what? fulfillment. We all want that fulfillment, and in different shapes, in different faculties, the totality, the the ultimate that we are seeking in everything is God. So the strong gods pine for my abode, and pine in vain. The sacred seven, the seven ascetics, the seven rishis, the Sapta rishis, they are in constant search for God. They are all the time thinking of God. Their all gestures are about to attain salvation. Salvation, to get united with God. So this process of this yearning for a unity with God is pined by everyone, by the earthly gods, that is strong people having some faculty that is exclusively very exclusive. Even they, and the sacred seven, the ones who are in heavens or near heavens, even they are thinking to receive him. But thou, meek lover of the good, find me. I will be found. My existence can be found. My existence can be felt only by those who are meek, not proud. The expression that was used there, that strong gods or the vanished gods, they are people who one would think himself a god only when one is proud. So he will keep yearning but will not be able to see God. I am visible to whom? I am visible to the meek lover of the good. The good. There is only one good. The good, it is very objective. Something which is good to me and something which is good to you and some good to others and them and everyone else is the ultimate good. So those who are the lover of that good, the good, to find no one different from ourselves, to see that universal and that innate unity with each other. So thou, meek lover of the good, only you will find me. And turn thy back on heaven. For you, heaven will not mean a different place. People may aspire to reach heaven by doing some one act of goodness or the other and be bloated by the idea of having done good. And then they feel that they are going to go to heaven. Brahma says, no, the people who are proud of themselves, who have an analysis of their being better than the other, that is a perforce separation from the other, a perforce division from the other. This mars the unity, the essential unity that is there between God, man, and nature. So the ones who do not identify this unity, only they will feel that there is another place, that is heaven. But the one who is doing good, let us take an example of a man who is moving past and sees, who has just one single loaf of bread with him and sees someone hungry, and realizing his hunger as similar to the hunger in the one who he sees sitting miserable and having no morsel yet, if he shares. Why was he able to do that? He was able to do that because he found that the existence of unity between him and that person. For him, the person was not different. So the killer and the killed, the the I and the you. There is a point, it is said in Vishnu Puran कि जब आप मैं और तुम के बीच के फर्क को बांध देंगे, उसको उस के बीच में एक सेतु लगा देंगे, मतलब मेरे और तुम्हारे बीच में कुछ और नहीं है। हम ईश्वर को हमेशा तू बोलते हैं, हम उससे झूठ नहीं बोलते, क्योंकि वो हम ही है जिसको हम पत्थर के सामने अपना समझ के, अपना भगवान समझ के झूठ बोल नहीं पाते। सो दैट इज the idea of that unity. So anyone who does good, he is able to do that, the good, only because he doesn't find a difference between him and the other deserving recipient of the resources that we may have. A very beautiful thought. He begins by saying, Emerson begins by saying that if the killer thinks he has killed, if the killed thinks that he has been killed and the killer is proud that he has killed, then the idea of going to heaven cannot be materialized. It is no material. There cannot exist the thought of heaven if we are creating the hell of differences. So the one who loves God, who should essentially be the lover of the good without discrimination, doing anything that should make you happy as well if it was done unto you. So a very beautiful, romantic idea of unity between the Trinity of God, man, and nature has been devised in the poem. And it ends with the idea that, with the conviction that the one who does good, who is not bothered about keeping conscience that is in conflict. So the one who knows what he is doing and he knows it well that it is the good, does not care to all the time keep praying towards a direction which he feels is a heaven and keeps creating a hell around himself. He cannot achieve this Brahma, the essential goodness, who created and who is the creation. Thank you.